So friends, as we are properly in this Advent season now, with its beginning last week, and with our DS's invitation to this time of hope, where we place our hope in God and join with that long-expected people waiting and to celebrate the Messiah's birth, we do so in that spirit of confession and pardon, thankful for what has been given to us. And as I have my chance to lead in this Advent season, God placed upon my heart a series entitled Timeless Christmas, to look at those things that make Advent and this time together timeless. Because indeed, Christmas can be a time of great celebration, but many of the things we exchange and do are not timeless. Lo and behold, that wonderful piece of technology we will get and celebrate this season will be in the recycling bin in 3 years, if not sooner. That was a joke. Relax with me, folks. And so instead we look at those things that are indeed timeless in this season, and we begin that series with, of course, an invitation that is the title of today's message, Spending Less Time on Christmas. And please hold back your offense until you know where I'm going with that. Relax, I'm not saying let's not celebrate it, folks. And so with that, please join me in this attitude of prayer as we begin. O Lord, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight. Amen. So folks, Christmas is a wonderful and holy time, and this Advent season is a journey leading up to all that is Christmas, the celebration of Christ's birth and what it is to us as his people. And so it's a season in the church, much like Lent in its proper time and place, a chance for us to go through a journey which has a beginning and an end, and along the way, multiple points that we may engage God to increase our faith and find holy moments together and separate alike. But of course, sometimes the celebration of the holiday sometimes can outshadow the reason for such celebration. Now, I might be very wrong. All of you might be masters of relaxation around this time of the year. But I imagine this great season we're in sometimes brings stress, headaches, concerns, agitations, all that good stuff. Because the list of things we have to do, which is a funny concept because no one twists our arm to decorate our house or put on a good meal or write out Christmas cards. But the implied pressure is there. And we feel the need to do all of this stuff in order to celebrate the season proper. And sometimes, lo and behold, we get to Christmas and we need a vacation from the holiday. We get so annoyed and tired of it that we say, I can't wait for the rest of the year to go because I'm good with 364 more days till the next one. Which is a sad day in the church when the big celebration of Christ's birth stresses us out. And we get tired of it. And so today is about an invitation to look at spending less time on Christmas for the purpose of enjoying the season. Because I'm especially feeling this as a pastor now and as a new father. Because I really don't want to be writing my sermon notes at the expense of getting to see the twinkle in my child's eye as she beholds a Christmas tree. Or about being so stressed out that I don't get something out of our services, that I as pastor am not receiving from God, but fully stressed out that way others may partake. It's that back and forth that this season is for us. We are here, and this season is that God is giving us a wonderful gift, but sometimes our hands are so closed because we got too much that we're holding on to, too much stuff to do, too many shopping bags in hand. And so we look to spend just a bit less on the celebration so we may celebrate the one who is the reason for it all. So if I were to make some offerings this day about what it is that we may celebrate Advent proper, it's to echo the final words from our reading today from the Gospel of John. It's the words of John the Baptist. His main focal point of his message to the people would be, I am a voice crying out in the wilderness. Make the Lord's path straight. Now this was central to John's message and his whole point of calling people to be baptized as an act of repentance And this was deeply rooted in our Jewish brothers and sisters' notion of what it was to follow God, to make the Lord's path straight. They had this notion that, of course, they're not talking about a physical path. He wasn't calling them to be the road tenders of their day and to go and pull up the little stones and pebbles that way Jesus may walk calmly across the countryside of Judea and Israel. No, he was talking about our inward path. That what is it to remove the obstacles that get in the Lord's way in our hearts? Of course, he was speaking about how do we get rid of the sin in our lives that the Lord may walk calmly and flatly into our hearts and lives and transform us. It's a tall order and one we are doing throughout our lives. We really don't get to a point where we say, perfectly level, because life will throw us a curveball. We'll have an event that makes an emotional and mental upheaval, and then we have to go back and re-tamp down the land some more. That way it may be smooth. It's an ongoing process that we do as Christians to make the Lord's path straight. And in this season of Advent, we might find that again, no one is forcing, but we put obstacles on the path. We put things like, well, I have to be here and I have to go there and I have to shop for this. And we need to be very intentional about, are we choosing that? And in choosing it, is it beneficial and helpful to me and to my loved ones, to my family, to those that will see me, or am I just like the rest of the known world, anxiously waiting for this day to come, but so stressed out the whole long way? So we're called to maybe simplify, to look into our own hearts and say, what is it that I will find beneficial, that I will lift up in joyful offering to God this season? How am I making myself ready to hear God in this season? Or are my ears so clogged that, I just can't hear him? To simplify, to make the path a little bit easier to walk for ourselves. That way, Advent may be holy and not just a time we're looking forward to get past. And so we offer the invitation to simplify, to make the path straight so that we may walk it, that way Christ may walk it and get into a good way. If we're having trouble conceptualizing this, here's a good one for you because it ties in very well to where we're going in just a minute. If the path is so heavy laden with stuff, if we're so stressed out that Christmas Eve comes and we come to Christmas Eve service and then we rush back out because we got to get to the store before it closes to get those C batteries for the gifts that we just bought before Christmas dinner so we can stay awake till 3 a.m. and wrap the gifts, wake up with the kids at 6 and not be happy. Merry Christmas. If that's the scenario, we need to change it, that we may have a moment to be open and not only enjoy the time with family, but to offer and have a place that God may speak. Because far too often we're so busy at the Christmas holiday, we get to December 1st and oh boy, we start checking things off. Some of us may even be here in worship saying, okay, well after Pastor's done, we got to go to Giant and get this so we can make it next week, get those cookies packed and ready and shipped out to the relatives, write the cards. We're thinking of this because that's our to-do list. And what happens is we can pigeonhole God into a set time to say, all right, Lord, I got it all done. You may speak to me on Christmas Eve between the hour of 7 and 8 p.m. in service, and that's all I got for you, Lord. A holy season about God's Son, and we say, Lord, you can speak Christmas Eve, but not like all day, just in the hour of worship. Oh, how about that? But how often does it happen? To ourselves, to our loved one, to our friends and family, that we make this season so busy and we pump the brakes only for that hour, that holy hour, where we get to sing Silent Night, and then right back into the busyness to get back home, to say hi to friends and family, and then get ready for Christmas Day. And so if we are called to simplify, then maybe we are also called in good turn to make some time for God. Because in the thought of going out and shopping and buying gifts for loved ones and our kids and grandkids, do we think about where is God on that Christmas list? What did we choose to give God this year? Did we give God any time at all in Advent? To say, Lord, would you speak to me through your word? Would you speak to me through worship? Would you speak to me when I quiet myself and actually take a moment to turn the radio off and just say, all right, reveal to me more about who your son is? Do we intentionally make time to listen for God's still small voice? The Apostle James wrote about such an activity and an encouragement and discipline in his writings, and he wrote, submit to God, resist the devil, and he will run from you. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded people. To me, the invitation there, of course, is to come near to God, and God will come near to you. Because far too often, I think sometimes in the busyness of Advent, we tend to do this race with God, that we're running around doing all these things, and God's chasing us around, and finally again, on Christmas Eve, we turn around and say, hi God, good to see you, and then turn around and do an about face and run in the opposite direction to get on with the celebration. But do we make time to stop, truly stop, and not just physically for a quick word of prayer, but stop our minds, stop all the stress within and without, and really make a point of, am I spending time with the one whom this season is all about? Am I taking a moment to say, Jesus, would you be born in my heart anew? And to do that over and over again through a season and a journey. We've come 2 weeks in, a reminder of hope. And hope not just in communion with the scriptures, hope for a Messiah, hope for a time when God would fix all that is wrong and bring about an end to sin proper, but hope for the things that we need. To say, Lord, would you please bring about a time of ease, of unrest? Would you bring about a time in my heart that I've been longing for? And peace. Peace not just for the greater world as we lift it up in our time of joys and concerns, not just for peace in our country and our world as we read about unrest and violence in lands near and afar, but peace within us. For if we are an Advent people, we should look different in our holy season and not look like carbon copies of all the shoppers at the malls. If there's not a lick of difference in our minds and hearts as we are out there, we need to live into that peace that surpasses all understanding. Peace that lasts and peace that quiets, that looks at the raging storm of life and calls it to be at rest. So we make time for God. We give it as a gift unto ourselves and a gift unto our Creator. So with the call to simplify that our path for Christ may be a bit easier to tread, with an invitation to make time for God, it all is wrapped up in this one thing, our motivation for it that is before us, but sometimes forgotten. In the words of the prophet Isaiah, the wonderful names that Christ is called. He will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. The Prince of Peace's season sometimes gets to be so hectic you'd wonder if there's any peace at all in Advent or Christmas. But the whole focal point is one of his names is the Prince of Peace. And Advent is our time to testify and say, how do we welcome the Prince of Peace and receive that gift and let him reign? And so, friends, as the motivation to simplify, the motivation to make time for God is we worship the Prince of Peace. The Prince of Peace that John spoke about, that light has come into our world of darkness, that we have been made children of God, not because of how good we are, not because of our bloodline, not because of anything else other than God's desire, his loving, faithful desire to change our darkness into marvelous light, to make us go from sinners into saints. Oh, friends, like John said, we have received grace upon grace. Might we be changed in Advent and walk that road joyfully by setting things aside, that the Prince of Peace may be who we celebrate. And it can happen through all forms of things. I'm not telling you don't hang your lights. I'm not telling you don't send your cards. I'm not telling you not to make that fruit cake that all your relatives enjoy. I'm telling you that there's still peace to be had. Find time for it. Make it the priority, because, Lord have mercy, don't we need some peace every once in a while? May this holy season of Advent, as we try and spend less time on the Christmas that stresses us out and more time on the Christ that is the reason for our whole Advent season. So, dear friends, may we walk this Advent journey together, a holy time of joy and peace and love and hope. Amen.